Now a lot of motherfuckers want to compare themselves. You know, I'm like this, oh, I'm like that. Oh, really? Great. Because I'm like this. I'm like whiskey dick, cause you ain't fucking with me. I'm like a drunken rugby team at Chuck E. Cheese. I'm like a lobster in a pot of boiling vodka. I'm like a pride of flying lines diving on Impalas. I'm like a Bud Light at Miller Park. I'm like the proudest monkey with a gorilla's heart. I'm like a burning bag of shit in front of your house that we just ding-dong ditched. I'm like Sebastian Bach with his voice strain. I'm like Carrot Top on a roid rage. I'm like John McCain's final days of being locked away in a Vietnamese tiger cage. I'm like the Tin Man slapping up RoboCop. I'm like Ansel Adams on Photoshop. I'm like Dr. Dre with his stethoscope. I'm like Kanye West looking at himself through a telescope. I'm like Brett Bielema at BW3s, hitting on every cocktail waitress he sees. I'm like Barry Alvarez in a hot tub full of cheerleaders rubbing on his bald head. I'm like Chad Alvarez at a pet store. I'm like John Daly's breathalyzer test score. I'm like Joaquin Phoenix on a remix, itching his beard because his rap career's speechless. I'm like Gordon Gekko in a corner office, cornering the market on a takeover target. I'm like William Foster with a rocket launcher. I'm like Vito Corleone with an offer. I'm like Bill Dance fishing for killer whales. I'm like a hammerhead shark in a pool of liquid nails. I'm like the light of 90 sun spraying every way. But when I focus aim, I'm like a solar death ray. I'm like the 5 deadly venoms in a pill form. I'm like Dan Patrick wondering what happened to Craig Kilborn. I'm like bobbing for apples in a pail of vomit. I'm like Saturn passing through the tail of Halley's Comet. I'm like a liquidation sale at full price. I'm like Ingrid Newkirk at a bullfight. I'm like John Matrix being handed a weapon. I'm like a Scientologist on antidepressants. I'm like Hasselhoff when the camera's off, passed out in the bathroom with his face in a pizza box. I'm like the last cup of foam before you kill the keg. I'm like Scooby-Doo on shrooms humping Wilma's leg. I'm like the opposite of Congress. I'm like a Palestinian boy sitting on Santa's lap wearing a bomb vest. I'm like the new version of iTunes, cause once you download me, there's a newer version waiting to take the place of the old me. I'm like nosebleeds to coke fiends. I'm like karaoke with Fuka Dome. I'm like Steve Bartman walking down Waveland Avenue. I'm like Marvin the Martian trying to blow up the moon.